Everybody, we're going to continue with, there's Eileen, the three-legged cat. Hey girl, hey, how's it going? You want to say hi? There's Gertie, there's Pearl, there's my beautiful pandemic pedicure. Also, this is what are we going on? Day 5 of not wearing normal pants. So, pretty excited about that. Hey Eileen, do you mind? We're going to start a little lecture here, sis. Okay. There we go. Hey, Eileen. So we are gonna, you know what, this is not making it really easy for me to work. We have another corgi over here. Beautiful day out though. Okay, let's get back to discussing evil amongst all of this animal love that I'm lucky enough to have in my home. Okay, so when we talk about serial killers, here are characteristics of the ones that are really successful. Okay, so, once again, I think it's really sad that we have a gold standard of serial killer in the United States, but if we did, it would be this person shown here, who is Theodore Robert Bundy. Okay, as I'd mentioned before, wouldn't it be awesome if we could tell, bad people or these types of offenders by their appearance, they have horns or they have, green sharp teeth or whatever. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Okay, so some characteristics of the really evil, serial killers that usually make the press. First of all, they're not stupid. Okay, they have intelligence. They know to watch Law and Order and CSI, and they know about law enforcement techniques and forensic science. Also, they tend to look good. They're not usually people that you might see and say, oh, gee, I'm going to cross the street to get away from you because you're giving me the creeps. They tend to be charming very much on the surface. So the best way I could think to describe this, excuse me, is if, let's say you happen to meet Ted Bundy at a party, and what would probably happen is, those of you gals who like to date fellas, you might meet him and think, you know what, he's handsome. He seems really smart. In Ted's case, he was a law student. And wow, he's really charming. So, I might like to go on a date with him. So let's say you do, and maybe the first date, everything's okay. But then maybe, second or third date, you start to get that feeling where the hair on the back of your neck stands up. Or just kind of a gut feeling. And women, I encourage you to trust that feeling your entire life. And actually men too, if you meet a romantic partner and something just doesn't feel right, then that's, that's your instinct, kind of your survival instinct telling you that that's not a good situation. So trust that. Guys, if you were to say, he seems cool, I want to go out and have a beer with him, probably what would happen is he would manipulate a way, first of all, for you to pick up the entire check. And then after a couple of times of hanging out, you would discover that, he's kind of a douche. All right. I'm sorry to use that word, but, there's something not right about him. So they can maintain superficial charm and they can seem really nice, but it's very much on the surface. And if you scrape a little bit beneath that surface, you're going to start, picking up who the real person actually is. Okay. The next two kind of go together. First of all, we've talked about before how they are empathy deficient because they're, sociopaths / psychopaths. So they have no conscience. They don't have the ability to, feel empathy towards other people. Here's the other thing too. An insanity defense is not going to work with them because they're not crazy. They know the difference between right and wrong. They just don't care. Because they feel that, well, if I want to have sex with this person and I want to kill him, well, that's my right. I want to do it. So who cares? I'll probably be convicted for it if I get caught. So let's make sure that I never get caught. They also, because of their psychopathy and their narcissism, they absolutely want to control someone. And what's the ultimate control? Being able to take that person's life. So this is the type of person who, you might hear that, if you ever get abducted, try to bond with that person, say, I have small children at home, or, make sure they know your name, try to humanize yourself. if anything, these offenders are going to love that. Okay, it's not going to have any effect on them, but if you're terrified and trying to humanize yourself, it's not going to work, and they're actually going to enjoy it. Okay, so once again, just want to specify that these are the worst of the worst. So here's an example too where I mentioned profiling. Okay, so if you see a person on the news or on some type of crime broadcast, and they say, oh, I'm a profiler. They're not a profiler. Okay, you will see retired profilers like John Douglas, Robert Ressler, Roy Hazelwood. Those are a couple of ones that were actually with the FBI. But real profilers who are actively working in law enforcement, they don't want people to know who they are. So they're never going to get on TV and say, oh yeah, this is me, I'm a profiler. Unfortunately, there's no law against calling yourself a profiler, so kind of, any idiot can do it. And so those are the people that you tend to see on, whether it's HLN or, some type of newscast where they kind of want to get famous, and that's about it. And they're not trained by the FBI. So, just be wary of that. But if someone is a retired profiler, absolutely, they get on and they share their, comments or their feelings about, certain cases. So here's an example of where that backfired. This is William Suff, who killed victims, namely sex workers in Riverside, California. This photograph is from his photograph that was taken when he won a chili cook-off. So, great, makes a mean pot of chili. Unfortunately, he also killed people. When the case was actively happening, a so-called profiler got on the news and said, well, it's obvious to me after looking at all of the, psychological clues that this is a person who's targeting Caucasian sex workers. And what Suff did promptly was he then murdered a Native American and a Hispanic sex worker and then propped their bodies right up to the next to the local police precinct. So the message was, you don't tell me what to do. You're not powerful in terms of profiling. I'm going to do whatever I want. And as soon as I hear what you think your theory is, I'm going to change it around. And they can, okay, because they're intelligent and, they can, they want to be in control. Usually it's that element of narcissism that's going to get them caught in the end. But this is why profilers work behind the scenes. And just so you know, a lot of what profilers do is determining also whether a scene has been staged. So it's, not the criminal intent, oh, we have a pattern case, let's get on our private jet and go there. A lot of, when agencies ask the FBI to come in, a lot of it is, here's our crime scene photos, let's talk on the phone, read our reports. So it's not the agents actually going to the location. And yeah, like I said, a lot of people try to stage crime scenes. Oh, this, I murdered my wife, but I want it to look like an accident. So it's looking at those types of crime scene photos and determining whether that was what actually happened. So yeah, don't fall for those fake profilers. The other thing that happens is fantasy plays a really strong role in a person becoming a serial murderer. So this may be building, a serial murderer normally doesn't, wake up with that idea first thing in the morning and then they're going to go out and kill their first victim later that day. Normally, it's going to be someone who uses pornography to fantasize about rape and killing for, a very long period of time, whether it's, months or years or decades. So fantasy plays a very strong role. Typically what profilers have seen that, may indicate that you have this potential type of offender that could be, ready to escalate is a person who is a compulsive masturbator who is also addicted to pornography. Now, that can kind of describe any teenage boy too, to be quite honest. I'm talking about someone who I can't go to work because I have to, sit in my basement and watch pornography for, 22 hours a day. And they basically have no other life. Okay. So very compulsive. Indecent exposure could also be something that those of you going into law enforcement, pay attention to this. We've kind of laughed off in society. Oh, there's the person who flashes someone. Or there's the weirdo hanging around the playground, but they're probably not going to do anything. Now, if someone is exposing themselves in public, that can be, it doesn't mean they're going to become a serial offender, but it's certainly a red flag and a reason to keep an eye on that person, because that's just not normal behavior. Okay, another element to keep your eye on, or to keep, an open mind when you see this types of behavior, is voyeurism. And voyeurism basically means just, spying on people. So you probably heard about, cameras that were put in bathrooms without people's knowledge. The classic example is the peeping Tom, where someone is standing outside someone's window, usually at night, looking in to watch them undress or whatever. That's definitely something that you don't want to ignore. Okay, that's how Ted Bundy started. Once again, is that going to be a person that we can say 100% is going to escalate into, more dangerous crimes? No, but, you definitely want to take that crime seriously. Hopefully you get that person some psychological intervention and that stops it. But definitely we've seen that in the past histories of serial offenders. Okay, fetishism. Now, first of all, fetishism is a really broad term. So fetish just kind of means, sexual preferences. So, and a lot of these are just things, people are into them as long as, it's consenting adults. Who cares? If you've ever watched the show, Strange Sex, which I think is on TLC, or I'm trying to think, is My Strange Addiction? I'm not sure. But there was an episode about a guy who was in love with his car, and he liked to have sex with his car, by sticking his penis in the tailpipe of the car. Well, a car is an inanimate object. So, really it can't give consent. Okay. But it's also not a living organism. If you want to do that to your car, have at it. I don't want to watch it. So don't do it in the driveway next to me. The thing is, if it's a sexual fetish that's between consenting adults, that's really their business. The problem is when it crosses over to, living beings that can't consent. So if you're talking about children or the developmentally disabled, or elderly people who have dementia, or animals, or babies, that's when, okay, that's not okay. And that's something, that we definitely need to address. Okay, kind of the same with cross-dressing. People cross-dress all the time. You probably, you'd probably never know it unless they're, really open about it. I mean, if my insurance guy wants to wear his wife's underwear to work, I say, have at it, sir. Especially if your wife's supportive. I don't care as long as my deductible stays low. So when I have seen cross-dressing in particular cases with serial offenders, it's taking usually the victims, bras and panties, and then cross-dressing in those. And really it's taking a trophy and a way to live, to kind of live the crime again. So, keep in mind for that. And actually, because we're up to 13 minutes, I'm going to address this feedback loop, and then I'm going to come back in with another video that's going to address cross-dressing and how that can be an indicator of some much more serious crimes. I'm going to give you a prime example. Last thing I want to mention in this video and get it uploading is a feedback loop. Okay, and unfortunately, no matter which way the feedback loop goes with these types of offenders, it's bad for society because it means that they're going to re-offend. Okay, so either an offender, plans this for years, months, weeks, goes out, commits a crime, and they come back and it's like, oh man, that worked great. I can't wait to do it again. So they're going to re-offend again. Or let's say they go out and, oh man, the crime, that didn't work very well. I need to improve my MO, improve my methods. Guess what? They're still going to go out and re-offend because they want to improve and they want to try the crime again and get it up to, the level where they get something out of it. So yeah, no matter which way the feedback loop goes, it's bad for offending. I'm going to talk about this a little later too when I specifically speak about the Michelle Martinko case. So we will discuss that. Okay, but we're at the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to get this one uploading, and then we will come back with another video. Okay, thanks. Hope you guys are hanging in there. My goal for today is I'm going to take a shower. Okay, so yeah, a little personal hygiene on the agenda. Okay, but I'll be back with another video and let you know what our update is for the class. Okay, thanks. Hang in there. Right, Pearl? Right, Gertie? Right, Finn? Right, Boji? All right. The corgis send their love, and we'll talk to you soon.